guys, and welcome everybody to the Freedom to Speak Easy podcast here, where there is no prohibition on the First Amendment. Mark Rizzoli, as always, with me, Anthony Diamond, and Mark. We have two incredible guests and patriots, as we
listen. Two concerned parents. We have Christina Ballesteri and Kristen Colbo, both mothers, children in the Roxbury School District. And recently they, basically due to their due diligence and being concerned parents, uncovered these explicit books in the school library. And they're now being sued by the librarian because keeping in tune with what's been going on when concerned parents get engaged now, right? They're either called extremists or now they get sued for defamation by a librarian and her usually ambulance chasing attorney.
You have two concerned parents and all they want to do is just ask some questions and now they become the problem in a sense.
So Kristen and Christina, if whoever wants to start first, please just tell me about yourselves, how you got involved, about your community and everything, and what's been the reaction to what's going on in your school library.
Okay, Chris, you want to start?
Go ahead.
Good. Oh, so, okay. I'm a mom of 3 boys. They're young. They're in the elementary school system here, but they are moving up through the public school system. That's a comment that gets made to us often, that we don't have kids in the high school. I don't really think that matters because they're going to end up there. And, when everything happened with these sex ed standards, both Kristen and I separately took on the battle with the district, and through maybe fate, I don't know, we ended up meeting and discussing our concerns, and we kind of joined forces and created a parental rights and education group for Roxbury and tried to just build a team to fight back a little bit, because it's pretty outrageous, the things that they're teaching and doing with our children. So Kristen, as you'll see, she's the inspiration, she's the passion behind the movement. I am the researcher. And that's what led us here. Is I saw reports in different parts of the country of these ridiculously inappropriate books. And I'm a natural skeptic, so I didn't believe it. I thought, I highly doubt that's in a school library, highly.
Right.
So I accessed our Roxbury High School online database for the media center. And sure enough, not one, but at least 11. It's at this point, it's almost every time I see a book questioned or challenged in the country, I find it in Roxbury High School. So I immediately then, what I always do, I ran to Kristen and said, look what I found. And then Kristen will fill you in with the rest.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 children also in elementary school. Again, quickly rising in the Roxbury School District. So I feel that if we don't address this now and what's going on, what is school going to look like when they're in the high school? What are they going to be sharing with them? So like Christina said, we met, we say by fate, but it's funny because actually my husband jokes about it, that I think the first time he met Christina, he looked at her and he was like, I'm going to have to keep bail money in the nightstand because you 2 are going to be trouble. But the reality is that we're never the type to stay quiet when we see something that's wrong. We have a moral obligation to stand up. And that's exactly what we did. So as Christina was saying, we found out about the books. We said, we can't stay quiet. We have friends and family members with people in the high school. How are we going to not say anything just because it's not our kids yet? So we were fighting the sex ed standards.
Kristen,
Go ahead, Mark.
Would you say that when it comes to parents, they're so skeptical about what they hear about these books and the sex ed that they're kind of like unwilling to get engaged because at first they're apprehensive that they won't believe it until obviously you and Christina exposed it more and brought more attention to it? I mean,
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. I get the same feeling because, when you're everything you and Christina are doing now, you're now obviously people are attending your school board meetings, but prior to you exposing it, was it a light turnout at your board of ed meetings?
Nope.
When you initially started discussing this, or has it always been?
It was just Christina and I and maybe 4 or 5 other parents.
Okay,
So-
and now what is it, 100 people, 50?
We had over 100 last board meeting a couple
Good.
weeks ago. Yeah.
No.
I mean, to be honest, I think that this all started, I always say, like, how did we get here? If you were going to tell me that in 2023, we would be fighting to get sexually explicit books out of the hands of children in a school, I would say you were crazy. But I think that, as we all know, we all experienced a collective trauma with COVID, and people started trusting the government to make decisions
Right.
based on the best interests of our children. And most people got it wrong. I mean, we are the ones that know what's best for our kids. And people started submitting to the government, and it's a slippery slope. And now we're in a place where the government and the schools are saying these are our kids too, and it's our obligation to raise them. And it's not. And
Right.
we're going to continue to fight that angle, because
Well, that's the question I wanted to ask for both these. When you signed your children up in public school, did you sign a co-parenting agreement or some type of waiver of your rights to be a parent?
No way. And I was a public school teacher, and I'm floored that this is the mentality of districts and administrations, and it's just outrageous to me. I never in a million years as a teacher would have kept secrets from parents, or had some of these conversations with kids, or never would have showed anything close to what's in those books to any kid.
You know, you mentioned you know, keeping things from parents. You know, there's things out there now, rules out there, the way, you know, the child doesn't even have to, the school doesn't have to notify the parent about certain things, as we well know now. I find that, you know, extremely ridiculous, and absolutely outrageous and dangerous. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. And, you know, before your activism, inside of this Board of Ed, and as Mark asked, you know, how many people were showing up? Were people in your district aware of, were they the Board of Education, the elected board members as you have, was it a low turnout? Do you know, was there an active engagement in the Board of Ed races? I'm sure there will be now, but before that, were these just 3 seats up as they are every year, and they kind of just swoop right in? Or,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
and I think that's really part of how we got started too. So we learned of all this, the sex ed standards being ushered in under the guise of COVID. And Christine and I started getting involved. I joined Moms for Liberty, and I believe it was January 2020, and really just became more informed. Again, there is no conspiracy. There's no push to ban books from Moms for Liberty, as one side would like you to think. It's really about parental rights and just being aware of what's going on, and having a right to say, no, I don't want my kids exposed to this. So we
Well,
actually, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Christina. Now, what was the reaction to board members? Did they side with you? Did they turn against you? You know, I'm just curious about.
We
what was their
actually
reaction?
earned ourselves a little nickname in our town, and we were called the vocal few. So they painted us as these extremists. We actually were met in the parking lot one time with a board member who said, we're not extremists like you. And we said, if it's extreme to protect your children from obscene sexual material, then call us whatever you want. But the reality is, this is just about parental rights and about what's best for the youth of our nation. And public schools are missing that target.
When you're at meetings, your superintendent, first of all, what is the superintendent's name, and how long has the superintendent been there for?
Dr. Loretta Radelick, she is the current superintendent. She actually resigned, or she's retiring. She resigned. She's going to be done June 30th.
Okay.
She's been here, I would say, about 6 to 8 years.
Yeah, I'd say about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's going to be a battle. I mean, over the next superintendent here. That's going to be the next big step here. And I'm sure you guys are going to want to have some influence on the superintendent, who's, let's be honest, the day-to-day leader of the district, correct?
Right. The Board of Ed did, whether they took it seriously or not, I'm not sure, but they did surveys for the public. They held an open forum for us to share what we were looking for, the community was looking for in a superintendent. And they did hire, I don't honestly know, I don't remember his name, but they introduced the new superintendent at the meeting, the last meeting where we had the big turnout.
Okay.
So we shall see. I don't know what to
So,
think yet.
I mean, has a single board member stepped up and demanded that the books get removed?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we ran the Board of Ed campaign last year. We said, listen, we weren't getting the response we expected. We expected board members to stand up and say, oh my gosh, we didn't know this was here. This is ridiculous. We're going to do something about it. Instead, we were met with, we didn't know this was here. We didn't approve it, but we're listening and we're going to work on it. And over the course of 8 months, nothing changed. So last year we decided that's it. We're going to vote you out then. And so we did. So we actually met Josh Akins. He's running for New Jersey Assembly in LD 24. He was a huge support in helping us run and really engage the community in the Board of Ed campaign. We were able to unseat 2 incumbents. So we do have like-minded people on the board at this point, but we're trying to get our town and public to realize that this isn't a political issue. This is just parental rights. And regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, we need to all come together. So we're going to continue to work on that end with trying to replace board members that are not willing to stand up and fight for the kids.
One quick, I'm just curious, do you have town officials, town council members that are?
We do. I would love to talk about that.
Nope.
Yeah, so we have
They
town
don't back
council
us up
members.
at all.
Nope,
Right.
they've been
That's
in.
amazing.
I will tell you, there are town council members. I graduated from Roxbury High School in 2003. Some of them are the same council members that were on back then.
Wow.
We have the
Career
same
politician.
mayor that is not elected, the same mayor in there. We emailed all of them a countless amount of times about these issues with the books, with pictures.
With the photos, yeah.
Zero response. Zero.
I'm not surprised, but that's the problem when you have that form of government. The council basically takes turns being mayor. Am I correct? Is that how your town government works? So you have all these relics in there who just want to keep their seats. God forbid if they do what they're supposed to do. I say this all the time. Please give me feedback. If an elected official cannot stand up for a child, he or she should not be in that position. Because there's nothing more important. It's just unbelievable to me. And that goes down Trenton too. We have both parties. I don't care what party you belong to. Right now you say about education becoming political. You're 100% right. Evil Phil Murphy working in conjunction with Garden State Equality and the NJEA have really basically unleashed this insane policy or tactics to try to force this upon our children. It's just targeting the foundation of the family as well as the community, which is the children. I always say public safety and education, that's the 2 most important things in the community. That's the foundation. It drives your local economy, keeps your quality tax base and a community in general. It seems like everything applies to your elected body up there where they just want to keep status quo to keep their positions, because if they have, God forbid, if they speak out and do their job, evil Phil Murphy will get mad at them and the NJEA. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But this seems to be playing into you respond on this one. The NJEA's tactics, where the moment a concerned parent actually comes with facts and wants to have an intellectual debate about something, they immediately go and attack them, right? What were you labeled? Extremists, like their video. So it appears to me that the individuals in your school district are following the NJEA's plan to silence parents like yourselves, the strategy to a T. I mean, would you say so?
Absolutely. There are several on our Board of Ed that 100% want nothing to do with parent involvement. And they'll say they do, but then their actions speak louder than words. They do not want to hear from us. They don't care when they hear from us. When they do hear from us, they call us the vocal few and ignore us. Despite that, 2 of them were voted out. So the silent majority is on our side, and they still keep ignoring us.
Now, when you initially went to the librarian, did she ever respond to your requests or anything? Or she just ignored you, and the next thing you have a lawsuit?
No, she was very responsive. I'll give her credit for that. She did respond to every parent, to my knowledge, that emailed. I honestly thought initially that maybe it was something that slipped past her, because that happens. You know, I don't expect, it's a big job to review every single book. I assumed, oops, look, let me tell you what's in here. And no, that wasn't the case. It was, the email back to all of us was that she's aware of what's in there and that it's reflective of the community, and some kids and some parents want their kids to perhaps read books about inserting butt plugs and there are things like that.
Real quick, is the library part of the Board of Education in Roxbury, or is it town? Does the township itself run the library?
No, it's the Board of Ed has, and this, I sent this to the Board of Ed. I sent multiple Supreme Court cases that say a Board of Education can remove books for
Right.
vulgar material, not for ideas or topics or politics, but for vulgar material.
Right.
And still, the Board of Ed has not acted.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, what do you think? If, just for example, if I handed a child a $10 bill and say, go into a bookstore and buy a, you know, Playboy magazine or something, we both know the clerk at the cashier at the register wouldn't sell that to a child.
Exactly.
Right.
So but yet, you know, we're going to hand these books out, just allow a child to go up to go into a library and remove the book. It's outrageous. It's outrageous.
Absolutely.
Now, did you receive a cease and desist letter before the lawsuit? Listen,
No.
if you can't discuss this, I understand, because I know it's ongoing litigation.
We
No,
did not.
we spoke on the March 6th Board of Ed meeting, and then March, what was it, 23rd, 24th, somewhere along that week, we were approached by sheriff's, Kristen and I and two other parents were served with a lawsuit from a sheriff's officer.
Okay. So there was never you were never, you know, no cease and desist letter prior to that. It was just handed the lawsuit just to try to silence.
Right. No mediation before that, basically, right? Hey guys, calm it down. Just here's the lawsuit.
Right.
Nothing.
No, and I do want to make a point. I feel like before all of this, we really are, you know, everything's being painted as like one side versus the other. I think that in Roxbury, we're a primarily conservative town, very wonderful community, family oriented town. I think we all pretty much had the mindset to live and let live. And that really enabled, I would call this activism, to bring in these woke ideologies, which has really driven all of this, because who would ever think to put sexually explicit material in school libraries for kids? It's
right.
being ushered in under the guise of LGBTQ. And now the media is supporting anyone who bullies conservative parents who stand up and say, not my kid. So now we're in a position where the media is spinning this and saying, calling Christina and I anti-LGBTQ, and this is hate, and this is this, and that. It is absolutely nothing to do with that. And I want to be
quite honestly, from where I'm looking at, my perspective, the defamation is now upon you. You're being defamed now with this frivolous lawsuit to silence you. To me, it seems like it just was filed to defame you two and try to scare you into, you know, into keeping quiet now, to scare you off.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's how I feel. I don't know what you think. That's
No,
my
it's
opinion.
absolutely what's happening. And what's so funny to me, and I say this, you have to laugh at it, is these things that are in these books, they're saying it's to help the LGBTQ community, but hello, heterosexual people can do those things too. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's just sexually explicit. And in my research, I just decided you can enter in different words into the search bar for the media center. So I typed in gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. There are over 175 books on those topics, and we have an issue with 11 books.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the topic.
Right.
I'm curious. I'm curious to know. You know, as somebody, I know Mark, as I am as well, school choice. You know, you think about another option for parents that have to deal with this. I mean, look, if you're a parent and you don't like this stuff that's being in the library or being taught in the curriculum, you go to schools, you do what you're supposed to do, you defend your child, you become an activist, You do everything that you're legally right to do. And when you do that, what comes, boom, a lawsuit shows up. And I'm just curious to know, before this all happened, your ideas on school choice and what they are now, to give parents another option. Maybe they can't afford necessarily sending their child to private school, but a third option here, to give to have an out, to say, you know what, we've had enough of the public school here right now. They clearly, it's not about defending children, it's about indoctrination right now. And I'd like to know your thoughts on school choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board for school choice. I've been. I feel that too much of my taxpayer dollars is going towards all of this. And for a parent who has grown up in the town and had a great experience in the school system, to watch our school system, now that they're pushing these woke ideologies, we're dropping in the state ranking. So we're not able, all of our students aren't proficient in math or reading, writing, but they're going to know about the best way to perform oral sex. What is that?
Right.
I mean, why should we be forced into these curriculums when that doesn't match the morals we teach in our home? I mean,
please respond to this. So we had the lockdown, isolation of our children. Now, the one thing I think we all have seen, there's been no plan put in place to catch children up, right? We're so far behind now. How about with the isolation and everything? What do you think? What's your opinion on that? The fact that hasn't been addressed.
If you've ever listened to, I will listen to the State Board of Ed meetings at times. And I listened to the one where they were supposed to address the learning loss. And they did a report and they gave the atrocious proficiency numbers. It was really bad. And one of the Board of Ed members, I don't know his name, and I probably wouldn't say it anyway, because obviously that got me in trouble already. But one of the Board of Ed members said, that's bad. I don't care about the white kids in Milburn. I worry about the other kids. And it was like, even the acting commissioner was like, wait a second, we care about all of the kids.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Right. And now
one of the other members also asked, can you tell us if these comprehensive equity plans are working? They've been in place. Can you tell us if they're working? And the response was, it doesn't matter if they're working. We need them. So that's their focus.
And I'm sure you all heard about what happened last week at the State Board of Ed meeting. So they determined that 40% of students coming out of New Jersey schools were proficient. So now instead of addressing
they're lowering
the issue, they lowered the standards. So now they're still not proficient, but now the numbers say that 80% are proficient because they just moved the bar. So we're going to keep lowering the bar.
Which actually hurts. Listen, it hurts society later on. I mean, it only hurts the child. As we push these children along, who should not be pushed into the next grade or into graduation, whatever it may be, society ends up paying the price down the road. Honestly, and the kids pay the price. It's absolutely incredible that we instead of tightening up the standards, we lower them, and we lower them. Why? They protect their own asses. That's really why, Mark. Let's be honest.
Well, do you feel that they're lowering the standards because they know the curriculum they're implementing, whether it's the sex curriculum, the DEI, the CRT, all this other nonsense you're throwing in between, is not helping the children recover with the learning loss? So now they want to cover up by reducing the qualifications for that test or the standards.
Absolutely. Their focus is on everything but academics. So if they lower the standards, they're hoping, I'm assuming, that we'll notice it less.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this is what really angers parents, because you're getting attacked, right? And now by the lawsuit, which probably brought more negative nonsense on social media. I can only imagine what you're going through. In the meantime, it's just to basically distract parents away, to Kristen and Christina now. And make them out to be these extreme parents, because God forbid the moment you actually stand up and come with facts and want to have an intellectual debate on the curriculum that's basically not working, it's not doing anything to further education. Now let's throw that label. Next, have you been called MAGA parents yet, by the way?
Oh my gosh, I laugh
about everything.
Yeah, with Kristen all the time. It's laughable that I'm from West Orange, which is an incredibly liberal town. I'm very middle of the line, and the fact that I am called a conservative is laughable to me. But because I don't want sexually explicit material in schools, and I don't want you telling my sons that they could be girls if they decide to tomorrow, that I'm a conservative. Which it makes it cracks me up.
That's the thing. Like they need to come, like evil. I call him Evil Phil Murphy, by the way, because anyone who targets children, I believe, is evil.
Of course, I agree.
You know, but they haven't come forward. If the curriculum that they're putting into the school, sex, CRT, DEI, you know, if it's working, we'll show the data that proves that it works.
Exactly.
And they haven't done it. I'm sure your school district, they won't even acknowledge it if you ask.
Right.
Because it's all about identity politics. Yeah, they accuse you two of being engaged in politics. They're the ones have brought their identity politics into the school districts now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the reality too is that I don't even think half the members on these Board of Education, they don't even understand what's being ushered in. They're voting for resolutions blindly. I went head to head with a couple board members at our Meet the Candidates event last year when we were running our candidates, because they didn't even know that they voted for all of these restorative justice grants, which people keep talking CRT, CRT, CRT. We don't have CRT in undergraduate schools. In our public schools, we have basically what you could refer to as like a CRT light, but it's called restorative justice practices. And these are the grants coming from all different universities, all different political charged organizations, and they're greatly affecting the well-being and safety of our kids. We've seen it in the elementary school where our kids go. So it's restorative justice. So a kid gets assaulted and they have to take into account the perpetrator's race, their history, their trauma history. So if a child has had trauma in their life, they're allowed to go into elementary school and physically assault other people or sexually assault other people. That is not how the world works. And it's honestly a pipeline to prison. We're literally pushing these programs that are telling kids they are not accountable for their own actions. And that is a slippery slope.
It is.
Oh, well, listen, you know, when we saw the girl get beat up and then she subsequently committed suicide.
Yes.
And there was the classic case of that, because rather than calling the police, who should have been involved with that, because that was clearly an aggravated assault, they held it, you know, they kept it on campus. The parent had to call the police to get the police involved. By that time, the videotape was out on TikTok. The poor girl was being harassed on social media, which caused her to commit suicide. And here's what the problem is right now, because of the NJEA and these other school administrators, please, comment when I'm finished. They feel that they're above everyone, that they're so protected, they can say and do whatever they want. They can implement whatever they want. And how dare a parent come in and question anything? Right. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I think, again, going back to that I was a public school teacher, for as long as there have been teachers have always played a very important role in identifying red flag behavior and in any child, and then alerting the proper authorities, right? Going through the proper procedure. Right now, they're treating every single parent like we're the bad guy, like there's a red flag.
Right.
They're just assuming we're a problem.
Right.
And they're making decisions for our children based on that assumption.
They've been putting whether it was, I remember not even a few years back, but a year ago or so, where parents down in, I think it was Virginia, who were become activists, were being put on terrorist watch lists by the FBI. These are just parents who were concerned about what the hell is being taught in their child's classroom. And I got to be honest, I'm shocked. I am shocked that there aren't more parents at any school board meetings. I really am. I'm surprised because, as someone, we have somebody that's my girlfriend has a son in the second grade. Every day we're asking what's being taught in these classes every single day. And you never know when they're trying to slip it in. Now, they try to slip stuff in now into math class. The way they trigger with the curriculum, they really go above and beyond these politicians to get the sex stuff into the classroom is my point.
Yeah.
They, any which
exactly
ways.
right.
And Mark always says evil calls it evil Phil. He's 100% right though. Anybody targets children, and it's all about sex. It's not about STEM. We should be pushing STEM stuff. It's about sex, and on little children where their innocence is. Let's be honest. It's destroying their innocence here. I mean, look what they're doing at Disney as well now. It's all over. It's academia. It's entertainment. Everywhere you turn, it's in your face. And you guys, honestly, you guys should be very proud of yourselves for doing what you're doing though. I'm shocked there isn't more parents doing this stuff.
I agree. Christine, I before we wrap this episode up, I want to just get your opinion on this. I've been advocating for cameras in the classroom, meaning that not that you could, live stream, go into the class, that if a parent wants to, a month later, I want to know what happened on May 2nd, such and such time during that class. Do you see a problem with that? Because I feel that there should be cameras in the classroom. Because with all this curriculum and things being hidden in the curriculum, I think it comes time where, parents should be able to have that type of access to the classroom. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's sad that it's come to that, but it's come to that. And it's come to that for a reason. And it's not our fault that it came to that.
And I think the other piece is we're having a shortage of teachers now, right? Because teachers are taking a lot of the heat. There are so many wonderful teachers out there that don't align with the NJEA, that are literally emailing us. We have an email that comes to Christina and I for Roxbury Parental Rights, emailing us saying like, you are spot on. And we work in the district and we can't speak because we will lose our jobs. So teachers are being put in the worst position right now. I mean, like Christina said, it stinks that it came to that, but I feel like we're going to have to go in that direction in order for parents to feel safe sending our kids to school.
Sad that's going to come to that.
We'll wrap this episode up with a last call.
Yeah, let's do that, Mark, and we'll wrap this up. Mark and I get a minute each to speak about any topic, but I'm sure we'll keep it to this topic. Mark, what say you first, man?
Yeah, listen, I mean, based on what we heard here, you have to say, I'll call out Eva Phil Murphy and JEA and Garden State Equality. I mean, well, you know what they all have in common? None of them have any type of background in education, but yet they're all engaged in formulating this curriculum that's doing nothing but harming children. There's no educational value to it. I mean, we have these creeps down there, Garden State Equality, who are constantly trying to get involved now in school curriculum. And the NJEA, they're the true political arm of Phil Murphy. I mean, they said it a number of years ago that their agenda now is to advance Phil Murphy's policies on education. But unfortunately, for parents and for their children, has nothing to do with learning. It's all about identity politics. So, I mean, until more parents start getting engaged, I mean, we just heard about Board of Ed race. Parents need to, everybody needs to go out and vote these people out of office. That's how you going to, protesting is great. Standing on the side of the road. I mean, people enjoy doing that with the flags, but you have to get engaged to the point now where people need to vote, either you go to the vote early or vote by mail. But that's the number one thing. I mean, this is really, it's such a bad place we are right now in our school system.
Well, Mark, just to touch on that, the politicians would rather you on the side of the road with flags than going to these school board meetings and being activists. And so my last call is going to be the parents. Shout out to them. They not only are our two guests, but they clearly understand the process. They were able to get two people off the Board of Ed and two regular, rational, thinking human beings on the Board of Ed, as it sounds. And kudos to you guys, because I got to be honest, a lot of parents don't like to get involved. They don't want to get involved for a host of reasons. But it is important that parents are understand the importance of not only what's being taught here, the future ramifications for the child. You don't have to be an educator to figure that out. It is just, you just got to have some common sense. And you're 100% right. There are people inside of I call them thugs. They are thugs that go after parents. Anybody that goes after targets parents who are trying to protect their child, and you're going to send them lawsuits, are thugs. I got to be honest. They're political thugs. And kudos to you guys for standing your ground. We wish them the best. I mean, it's hopefully there'll be more parents that speak up. So that's about it. So until next time, folks, we'll keep everybody posted.
And don't forget, tune into our next episode, because we're going to have Roxbury episode 2.
Part
You know?
part two, it's gonna be
This
even more.
this is an important thing that needs to be exposed. We need to get, make sure parents really realize what's going on in the school district. Until then, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next episode.
Thank you, guys.